Today's video was sponsored by Margaret Wahome of America, a true patriot and a Kenyan nationalist at heart. Stand by for debrief in 3, 2, 1. The finance bill of the year 2025/2026 has been passed by the full cabinet and is now headed to the National Assembly for deliberation and a subsequent vote into law. Now, in this video, I want us to look into everything you need to know about this finance bill, and with no further ado, let's get after it. First up, in the last finance bill, waiver power was given to the National Assembly, but as at now, waiver power has been reinstated to the CS of Treasury. What does that mean? That means that by the time John Mbadi is retiring, if at all he has no ethics, he will be one of the wealthiest men in town. Because if you owe KRA 1.5 billion in taxes, you can go see John Mbadi, tell him, bwana, give me a waiver, na unalipa 100 million instead of 1.5. You 100 ni kwake, and he waivers it for you. It's a possibility. I'm not saying he's done it. This return of waiver power to the CS of Treasury means that at one point in time, if we have a rogue CS of Treasury, this country could lose billions. We could having billionaires who owe the national government billions of shillings, which they can pay, and that can go to do development in the country, but because of connections, because of kujuana or kitu kidogo, they end up getting waivers, and the little they're paying goes into the pockets of few. So that power will be going back to John Mbadi if this bill passes. Now again, John Mbadi has not done any such thing. I'm not saying he has. I'm just saying that we've opened the Pandora's box. Anything can happen under John Mbadi or whoever comes after him unless the law is changed once again. Second thing you might want to know, especially if you work for government, the tax threshold for per diem has gone from 2,000 shillings to 10,000 shillings. Meaning if you're doing work for the government, especially out there in the field, back then if you were being paid 2,000, it could be taxed. But anything below 2,000 was untaxed. Now anything below 10,000 will not be taxed by the national government. If you're being paid per diem of 9,000, hiyo ni yako. 8,000, hiyo ni yako. But if it's 10,001, it will be taxed. So that's a big win for the executive. Most of them ndo wanapewa easy per diem, even some county officials. It's a big win for them. We would rather see the laborers in the executive getting a salary increment or tax break as opposed to those in the legislature. Because wao ndo wanaleta oppressive finance bills all while going to the SRC to increase their own salaries. So this is a big win for the executive and others. For the taxpayer, not so much because kuhusu, you're not part of government in any way, shape or form. Now still on members of the executive and the government generally, initially gratuity used to be taxed. But if you are planning to retire after this finance bill, you are lucky because your gratuity will not be taxed. And I almost forgot, this just doesn't go for government employees, even for those in the private sector. If you've worked with, for example, Stanchart for the last 30 years and they owe you gratuity of 7 million Kenya shillings on your way out, initially that would be taxed by the government. Out of 7, you might get 5.4. But now that 7 million will come as is without being taxed. If you are in the national government, you've served for 30 years and you're being given 2 million on your way out as gratuity, you will keep the entire 2 million. So this again is a big win. If ulikuwa unapanga kuretire, just wait until this finance bill ipite, then you can go on and retire. Usiharakishe mambo, avoid that unnecessary tax because they will be looking at the time frame. You can't retire before the law is enacted and claim the benefits that came after the law was enacted. It will be a conflict of interest and it will be difficult to do. Number 3, if you transfer a property that you own to a company which you are the sole shareholder, it will not be subject to capital gains tax. Let me explain what capital gains tax is. For example, if you buy a piece of land 100 by 100 and let's say you bought it at 1 million Kenya shillings and 10 years down the line, this land has increased in value. It is now worth 10 million Kenya shillings, and you want to sell that land to somebody else. The government will tax the 9 million in addition to the capital you used to buy the land. They will tax the capital gains on that property. Now in this case, this brought a lot of problems. If you own that piece of land and you want to transfer that land or that property or bonds or whatever to a company which you own, you still had to pay capital gains tax. They were treating this company that you own as another individual because, to be honest, a private limited company is an individual on its own. The liabilities cannot be pinned on you. So it made things very difficult. So now if you own a piece of land and you own a company, maybe a real estate company, it is possible to transfer the land from yourself to the company. The only finances you'll spend is maybe paying the lawyers to facilitate that movement. So that's a big win for those who are trying to transfer assets into companies in order to avoid liabilities and things like that. Now, take note, it only works if you are the sole shareholder. If you're in that company with anybody else, hata kama akona 0.00% of the company, it will not be eligible for the scrap of capital gains tax. You'll still have to pay it. So step one, if you don't want to pay it, kick out the other shareholders or buy them out, then do the transfers if need be. So long story short, there's no need kuenda maandamano. I don't see anything oppressive in this tax. Basically, serikali iliuziwa uoga na wakanunua. I remember a while back the president used to say, ati, we won't be remembered for taking the popular position. We'll be remembered for taking the unpopular position and the difficult decisions. That's what he used to say to justify him increasing taxes, bringing SHA, housing levy and all that. But after the maandamano, they have learnt a lesson. There is no new taxes being imposed. In fact, I've seen the digital service tax went down from 5 to 1.5%. But let's not celebrate. It is subject to amendments. These guys, do you know they can bring a very nice finance bill, pass it, and Kenyans forget the story, and under the cover of darkness, they go amend it. Kenyans don't even pay attention to what's happening in the National Assembly. Even most of the oppressive things in the last finance bill, which was rejected, were still passed under the finance bill amendments, which came later. So we are still man-marking tuone vile mambo inaenda. Now, at the end of the day, I'd like to know, guys, is this a bill you will support or reject? Na watu waende maandamano, what say you? Do drop me your comments in the comment section below and I'll do my best to read them and to give you a response. And in the event you're here for the first time, please go on and hit the subscribe button. And if you're watching for a different platform, just head on over to YouTube, search for David Wafula, hit the subscribe button. You're going to be getting a ton of content of this nature. If politics is something you're passionate about, this is definitely the one channel that you really, really need to subscribe to. Alright guys, adios. Thank you for choosing David Wafula as your primary news platform. We put countless hours in research, recording, and editing. By showing up each and every day to watch our videos, you encourage us to generate more videos for the viewers. We are on a mission to inform, educate, and build a better tomorrow. To our thousands of followers in a world full of presidents, kings, and queens, you are the real gem. Adios.